ask you to welcome, we have Father David Hussey, like brazen and something else he told me, of the Episcopalian Church here in Pierre, to lead us in prayer. And he will be followed by Carter Muntz from Sioux Falls, who's going to then lead us in the pledge. Please stand.
Let us pray. O merciful God, we give you thanks for blessing us with another year. And we ask that you would bless all the members of this house as they reconvene to do your work. May they anticipate the opportunities and challenges that are before them. And before so many Americans, and may they look at them with steadfast determination and the will to work together towards solutions that will benefit all the people of South Dakota. Grant that this House may be worthy of the responsibilities that have been entrusted by their constituents and truly be the people that you, their God, have called them to be. May the disagreements that can divide this assembly be put aside and replaced by a spirit of respect and dignity. And may your Spirit, O God, be in all of our hearts and minds this day and encourage us to do the works of peace and justice, now and always. And may all that we do and say this day to be to your honor and glory. Amen.
I
All right, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Eilers, Anderson, Bartels, Barthel, Bartling, Beal, Bordeaux, Bruner, Campbell, Carson, Chase, Clark, Consett, Dennert, Diedrich, DeSanto, Jabal, Fry, Mueller, Glanzer, Goodwin, Gosh, Greenfield, Lana, Haugard, Hawley, Heineman, Holmes, Howard, Hunhoff, Jameson, Jensen, Kevin, Johns, Johnson, Kaiser, Carr, Ketwig, Lake, Lateral, Lesmeister, Livermont, Lust, Marty, May, McClary, McPherson, Mills, Otten, Herman, Peterson, Kent, Peterson, Sioux, Pischke, Quam, Rasmussen, Reed, Roden, Ring, Rounds, Rosem, Schaefer, Shane, Fish, Smith, Soley, Steinhauer, Stevens, Tolson, Turbeville, Weezy, Willardson, Wismer, York, Zigman, Speaker Mickelson.
Here.
Mr. Speaker, quorum is present.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Approval of the journal.
The Committee on Mr. Speaker, the Committee on Legislative Procedure respectfully reports that the Chief Clerk of the House has had under consideration the House Journal for the 4th day. All errors, typographical or otherwise, are duly marked in the temporary journal for correction, and we hereby move the adoption of the report. Respectfully submitted, G. Mark Mickelson, Chair.
All in favor of said motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Introductions. Okay, is Dr. Schroeder from Miller here? I don't see Dr. Schroeder. We'll try to introduce him a little later. Reports of standing committees.
Mr. Speaker, the Committee on Agriculture and Natural Resources respectfully reports that House Bill 1035 and 1037 do pass and be placed on the consent calendar. House Bill 1036 was deferred to the 41st day. Herman Otten, Chair. The Committee on Health and Human Services respectfully reports that House Bill 1019, 1021, and 1026 do pass. House Bill 1020 do pass and be placed on the consent calendar. House Bill 1027 do pass as amended. Wayne H. Steinhauer, Chair. The Committee on Taxation respectfully reports that House Bill 1048 and 1049 do pass and be placed on the consent calendar. Stephen Haugard, Chair. The Committee on Transportation respectfully reports that House Bill 1068 do pass and House Bill 1069 do pass and be placed on the consent calendar. Mary Duvall, Chair.
Very good. Report of select committees.
Mr. Speaker, your Joint Select Committee on Joint Rules respectfully reports that it has under consideration the joint rules and recommends that the temporary joint rules adopted by the 93rd Legislative Session be adopted as the permanent joint rules of the 93rd Legislative Session, with changes as have been distributed. They're being distributed.
That's not on today's calendar. It'll probably show up on tomorrow's calendar. Well, that was just the report. 10-4. Got it. Okay, that was just a report of the committee. The action will be tomorrow. Yeah. Now, we do need to have the motion on the House Select Committee on the House rules, right? Yep.
Representative Quam moved that the report of the House Select Committee relative to the House rules as found on page 48 of the House Journal be referred back to the House Select Committee for consideration.
Discussion. Seeing none, the motion is to refer the House Select Committee, refer that report back to the House Select Committee. I think we can voice vote that, can't we? All those members in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries.
Mr. Speaker, Representative Quam moved that the reports of the standing committees on state affairs on House Bill 1005 be found on page 54 of the House Journal be adopted. Voice vote or voice vote?
All in favor of the Quam motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. Motion carries. First reading of House bills. The Speaker assigns to Commerce House Bill 1078 and 1082, to Health 1079, to Judiciary 1084, to House State Affairs 1009, 1010, 1025, 1077, 1081, and 1083, to Tax 1076, and to Transportation 1080. Second reading, consent calendar.
Mr. Speaker, House Bill number 1001, an act to revise the membership of the Executive Board of the Legislative Research Council.
Anyone have any questions on the consent calendar? Seeing none, the question before the body is final adoption of the consent calendar. All those members in favor shall vote aye. Those opposed, no. The clerk shall unlock the voting machine, and the member shall proceed to vote.
Thank you. Representatives Heinemann, Lateral, Reed, Roden, Steinhauer. Mr. Speaker, all present have voted.
Madam Clerk, please display the vote. Consent calendar, having received the majority vote of the members elect, is hereby declared passed.
Display. Okay.
Second reading of House bills.
Thank you. House Bill 1003, an act to revise certain provisions concerning the content of the campaign finance disclosure reports and to declare an emergency.
House Bill 1003 is up for final consideration. Are there any comments? Representative Bartling.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, members of the body. House Bill 1003 is a measure that came out of the Government Accountability Task Force this past summer, one of the measures that was passed out. What basically House Bill 1003 does is it simply corrects an oversight that occurred in Senate Bill 54 of the 2017 session, which that bill defined and clarified the campaign finance rules. If you look on page 2 of the bill, it's on line 16. What we have done is added in where an entity is has made a contribution to a campaign. That campaign contribution must be itemized if it's more than $100 in aggregate. If you remember in Senate Bill 54, we defined what entities were, and they are now allowed to make contributions to the campaigns. And so anything that's received from an entity after July 1, 2017 will have to be itemized on those committee campaign reports. As you will see at the end of the bill, in Section 2 is an emergency clause, and that was requested by the Secretary of State. There are campaigns that are ongoing at this present time in 2017 and 18, and those entities may be making campaign contributions, so we certainly want them to be compliant with the law in itemizing those contributions. So with that, Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity, and I hope that you can support House Bill 1003. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Bartling. Further remarks? Seeing no further remarks, House Bill 1003 will require a 2/3 vote due to the emergency clause. The clerk will unlock the voting machine. All those members in favor shall vote aye. Those opposed, no. Please proceed to vote.
Representative Bartles, Representative Carr. Mr. Speaker, all members present have voted.
Madam Clerk, please display the vote. House Bill 1003, having received 2/3 vote of the members elect, is hereby declared passed. Any questions on the title? Seeing none, the title is deemed approved.
House Bill 1004, an act to revise certain provisions regarding petition forms for initiated measures and initiated amendments to the Constitution.
House Bill 1004, having had its second reading, is up for consideration and final passage. Are there any remarks? Representative Reed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House Bill 1004 comes from the Initiative and Referendum Task Force that met during the interim. And the House bill just clarifies and makes sure that the State Board of Elections has the ability to decide the petition size and petition font size for any initiated measure or any amendments to the Constitution. So this is for the petitions that are floated and asked for signatures, and the concern is to make sure that the Board of Elections has the ability to decide to make sure the font size is big enough for you to read, and that the petition size is also of a manageable size. They believe that they had that ability because it did say that they could promulgate all rules for petition forms, but we wanted to make sure that they had that ability because of the concern that has been out there because of the size of some of the measures that you see on these petitions. It's in two different places. The rest is cleanup language, but it's on page 1, line 13, where the change is made, and page 2, line 24, and continues on to page 3, line 1. I'll stand for any questions.
Thank you. Further remarks? House Bill 1004. Hearing no further remarks, the question before the House is final passage of House Bill 1004. All those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed, no. The clerk will unlock the voting machine and the member shall proceed to vote.
Representative Campbell, Hunhoff, Tolson. Mr. Speaker, all present have voted.
Madam Clerk, please display the vote. House Bill 1004, having received the majority vote of the members elect, is hereby declared passed. Are there any questions on the title? Seeing none, the title is deemed approved.
House Bill 1006, an act to revise the extent of comments required by the Director of the Legislative Research Council regarding certain ballot measures and the period of time in which those comments are to be made.
House Bill 1006, having had its second reading, is up for consideration and final passage. Are there any remarks? Representative Peterson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, members of the body. House Bill 1006 is also a product of the Initiative and Referendum Task Force from this interim. Currently, when a group wants to bring an initiative or referendum to the ballot, or initiated measure or initiated amendment to the Constitution, they shall submit a copy to the Director of the LRC so he can review and give comment. The change we made a couple changes this summer. Currently, law says they have 15 days following receipt of the initiated measure to provide written comments. We have changed that to 15 work days following receipt of the initiated measure or initiated amendment to the Constitution. Bottom of section 1 on page 2, the director's written comments under this section shall include assistance regarding the substantive content of the initiated measure or initiated amendment in order to minimize any conflict with existing law and to ensure the measures or amendments effective administration. The sponsors may but are not required to amend the initiated measure after this comment. Section 2 was a section that was added to give the director some parameters as to time for dealing with this. And it says that if an initiated measure or initiated amendment to the Constitution is received from the first day of December to the day of adjournment, sine die, of the following legislative session. The director shall provide written comments not more than 15 work days following adjournment, sine die of the legislative session. Just simply there to give some parameters to when they are required to give comment. Now, obviously, if their work allows, they can do it before that. But we thought that this was a very good way to offer some clarity as they're going through this process. There is an amendment that is being circulated, and I would ask you to resist that amendment and go with the direction that the task force implemented and sent forth for your review today here. I'll stand by for any questions and look forward to any comments.
Further remarks? Representative Bartling.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have an amendment at the desk I'd like to move at this time.
Is that 1006 WB?
Yes, it is.
Has it been distributed?
Yes, it has.
Very good. Is there a second? All right, we'll grant you the latitude to address both the bill and the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, members of the body. As you can see with the amendment, what I've proposed is that the time frame when the legislature is in session, and of course the workload is heavier for our LRC staff, is that during the time frame between December 15th and the 10th of March, that the director be given the latitude to have 30 working days after they receive an initiated measure or a constitutional amendment for their comments. I've been receiving emails, and I'm sure all of you have, that with the proposal in Section 2, if we wait until sine die and then have 15 working days, which is in a sense 3 weeks, that will push it out until at least the probability of the middle of April. It then has to go to the Attorney General and the Secretary of State, which will push it out another 2 months. It could be easily the end of June or into July before interested parties would get all of their comments back and actually have a document that they can then be prepared to circulate as a petition for signatures. So this proposal, I'm trying to be very considerate of the workload of our LRC staff by giving them the 30 working days upon receipt, which in essence is 6 weeks, and yet to try and help keep the people's interest in our minds as far as giving them time to circulate. So with that, Mr. Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity, and I hope that the body might consider adopting this amendment and move the bill forward. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Further remarks? Does any member wish to speak for a first time before Representative Peterson speaks for a second time?
The amendment.
Yep, Representative Peterson, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, members of the body. Again, I would just ask you resist this amendment. I think we've done a very clear job when we met this summer setting a parameter for them to work through. Like I said previously, they have the ability still to do this before the director may get comment back sooner, but our busiest time of the year here and the busiest time of the people that work for us is the 1st of December through the middle of March. And, you know, I think this isn't necessary, this amendment, and I think what we have proposed originally is a fair way of handling and giving some parameters to the director for providing the comments to the initiated measure process. Thank you.
Thank you. We are on Amendment 1006 WB. Further remarks? Representative Wismer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise in support of this amendment. I think we're running the risk here to take a good piece of work that the committee did during the summer to try to work out some of the kinks in this process. And in that second paragraph, in the portion of the bill that the representative is trying to amend, she's trying to take what otherwise it appears that we have placed an impediment on the process of allowing the public to bring these measures. Anytime we shorten up the time frame, we make it more difficult for the public to do this. More hoops to jump through, more exact time frames. The amendment loosens those up. If we pass this bill as written, I'm afraid it will become known as the first attack on the initiative and referendum process. And I don't think that's what we want this bill to do. So I would urge your support of this amendment. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Further remarks on the motion to amend? Seeing no further remarks, the question before the body is the adoption of Amendment 1006WB. All those members in favor of said amendment, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. No. That motion fails, or that amendment fails. We're back on the original bill, 1006. Further discussion on the bill? Seeing none, the question before the body is final passage of House Bill 1006. All those members in favor will vote aye. Those opposed, no. The clerk will unlock the voting machine and the member shall proceed to vote.
Representative Lesmeister. Mr. Speaker, all present have voted.
Madam Clerk, please display the vote. House Bill 1006, having received the majority vote of the members elected, is hereby declared passed. Any questions on the title? Seeing none, the title is deemed approved. Announcements. All right. What's going on after session? All right. Anyone have a committee meeting tomorrow? Representative Rounds.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. up in 464, House Commerce and Energy Committee will meet. We'll hear from Division of Insurance to start off. Then we're going to take, I think, 4 bills tomorrow morning, hopefully get those done. So 10 a.m., be there. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Representative Heineman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Tonight, the American Legislative Exchange Council will be in town. The South Dakota Annual Wine and Cheese Welcome and Swiss Steak Dinner tonight. American Legion, Post 8, downtown Pier. There'll be a presentation on free speech about 7 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you. Further announcements, Representative Holmes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Chair of Education Department has asked me to announce that the Education Committee will meet tomorrow morning at 7:45.
Representative Stevens.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Chairman of Education asked me to tell you that Judiciary would be meeting at 10 o'clock.
Representative Roden.
Thank you. House State Affairs tomorrow morning, 7:45.
Representative Allers.
Appropriations, 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. We'll be reviewing the budget for Bureau of Information and Technology, Bureau of Administration, Human Resources, and State Employee Compensation.
Thank you. Thank you for the hard work of that committee. Today at 3 o'clock, I know in room 414, there's an education innovation presentation. This is by your LRC staff. There's a post-secondary tuition and fees memo on both 2-year and 4-year schools. And then there's an early childhood education issue memo. So your LRC staff will be presenting the issue memos on those topics that are available at the LRC website, room 414, 3 o'clock. Any further announcements? Representative Beal.
Mr. Speaker, I move we adjourn.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries.
Aye.